In our social experiment, our goal was to develop a study on behaviors that are affected by group influence. The group influence means when at least two individuals share common norms or beliefs, therefore their behavior is interdependent. In general, people may be influenced by others in terms of peer pressure, which is affected by persuasion from another person or group of people. So in our study, we were observing the reactions of public while the actor wore a green morph suit. We wanted to test how people reacted on the actor's appearance. Would he be discriminated against or welcomed to the crowd? Would people react positively or negatively? And how others people's reactions would facilitate the reactions of others.
For our experiment, we want to test how people react or interact with someone who does not comply with the social norms.
We will do this by recording the participants' reactions to the appearance of the actor who was wearing a green morph suit. In our experiment, we decided that the actor had to be placed in a social setting, such as walking around the mall and seeing what sort of responses he would elicit. The participants of the experiment will be the public, or in other terms, the people in the mall.
Terms to remember when looking at this experiment are conformity, groupthink, and discrimination. Conformity means compliance with standard rules or laws. This is applied when behavior is in accordance with socially accepted conventions or standards. The term applies to our experiment because by dressing up in an all-green morph suit, he was basically going against anything that was considered socially acceptable. When everyone is dressed in what is considered average clothing, he was in something completely different. The second term that we could apply to this experiment is groupthink. Groupthink is the practice of thinking or making decisions as a group in a way that discourages creativity or individual responsibility. This experiment showed that even though some people didn't know each other, when one person reacted, other people reacted as well.
Discrimination is another term that fit this experiment because the definition is an unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things. It is, in other terms, the recognition and understanding of the difference between one thing and another. For example, if he had gone into a store such as Louis Vuitton or Gucci while dressed in such an outlandish costume, the security guard would have immediately come over and watched him or kicked him out based on his attire. When we looked at people's reactions in the videos, you can tell that they were judging the actor. To add to that, we were stopped at the end of the video by a security guard. The security guard said it was because he was completely clothed, including his face. But not once did he ask whether or not it was part of his culture, because in some countries they have to be covered head to toe, and when they come to America they continue to maintain their culture's attire. Instead, he immediately assumed that it was a prank and terminated the experiment.
Our hypothesis is if a person behaves out of the norms of conformity, then he or she will be exposed to social discrimination.
This pie chart shows our data that we collected from the experiment. The red of the pie chart shows how many people did not react. The amount is 402. The aqua color of the pie chart shows how many people reacted. About 254 people had a small reaction, which included staring at the person in the suit. The small green part of the pie chart shows how many people actually came up to the participant, which was about 5, including a small child and his mother coming up and fist bumping, and a security guard who ended the experiment. The first article we chose is about cosplayers and about how people of other races feel like outcasts, specifically African Americans. The lady says that without organizations for African American cosplayers, she would not be encouraged to participate in going to and cosplaying at conventions. This is an example of how even in harmless and fun activities, there is still a significant amount of discrimination. The second article talks about how a teacher conducting an experiment on conformity. He conducted this experiment by issuing 2 students to get out of the classroom and told them when they get back in to try and get people to talk to you as much as possible, while he told other people in the classroom to not in any way interact with the other 2 students. The results showed that they all listened to authority and refused to say anything. Since many of them followed along, the ones who were on the fence went along with it.
In conclusion, we accept our hypothesis, which states that if a person behaves out of the social norms, then he or she will be exposed to discrimination. According to our data, the majority of people were showing a pleasant curiosity toward the actor. like poking at him or staring at his costume. The actor indeed failed to conform to the socially accepted dress code. Therefore, he was majorly discriminated. To replicate the study, we would test a variety of public settings to get more participants' reactions in order to come up with more detailed conclusions. It would try to include verbal communication coming from the actor so he could reveal his identity through his voice, which would have changed the reactions of the majority.